She has the honor of being a part of that special group of teens that dominated the 90s R&B scene with their chart-topping hits, eye-catching dance moves, and trend-starting style. Brandy, though, made sure she stood out from the rest with her signature braids, her ability to juggle both singing and acting at the same time, and a wholesome image that other teens, as well as their parents, could admire and look up to. But since nobody's perfect, throughout her life and career, Brandy's also experienced her share of heartbreak, tragedy, and failure. Singer, songwriter, actress, and model Brandy Norwood was born on February 11, 1979, in Macomb, Mississippi. She has a younger brother, Ray J, who also ended up following in her artistic footsteps. Raised in a Christian home, attending church was important to her parents, and thus became a regular part of Brandy's life. It would also be in the house of God, where she began singing at the age of 2. A couple of years later, her parents relocated to Carson, California. Then, at the age of 7, Brandy decided she wanted to pursue a professional singing career. Her singing style, she says, was influenced by singers like Toni Braxton and Anita Baker. But there was one person in particular that she was inspired by more than anyone else: Whitney Houston. To hone her vocal skills, Brandy began entering talent shows and performing at public functions. With the help of her family, she started hunting for a record contract. But in the meantime, she signed with Teaspoon Productions in 1992, who gave her work as a backing vocalist for their R&B boy band Immature. That job didn't last long though, since Brandy's parents were able to land a recording contract for her with Atlantic Records, after her audition impressed the head of their A&R department.
Well, God gave me a voice to sing, and I watched my dad perform in church and Whitney Houston, so I said, well, if I can, I can do it myself.
Good thing too, since who knows how many other people in the group she would have blinded if she hadn't left when she did. If you're confused as to what I'm talking about, watch my video on Immature, and you'll find out all the details of how Brandy came to be the reason why Romeo wears a patch over his right eye. Brandy's mother decided that she would take control of managing her daughter's budding career and resigned from her job to dedicate herself to the task full-time. Brandy then dropped out of formal high school and received private tutoring from 10th grade on. During the early production stages of her debut album, Brandy was selected for a role in the short-lived ABC sitcom Thea, portraying the daughter of a single mother played by comedian Thea Vidal. After initially receiving high ratings, viewership faded fast, causing the show to end up running for only one season. Brandy couldn't have been happier. You see, she was always frustrated over the taping schedule of the show, constantly interfering with the recording of her album, so the cancellation was fine by her. Brandy's self-titled debut album hit stores in the fall of 1994. 4 singles were released, all of which became both R&B and pop hits. Her debut single, I Wanna Be Down, captured the top spot on the R&B chart and a top 10 placement on the Hot 100. The follow-up, Baby, also hit number 1 on the R&B chart and did even better on the pop chart than I Wanna Be Down, climbing all the way to number 4. The album went on to achieve quadruple platinum status and earn her 2 Grammy Award nominations. Brandy also got a major career boost from her work on movie soundtracks. She contributed Where Are You Now for Batman Forever, Sittin' Up in My Room for Waiting to Exhale, and Missing You with Tamia, Shaka Khan, and Gladys Knight for Set It Off. Those last 2 became huge hits, both making it into the top 5 on the R&B chart, with Sittin' Up in My Room getting Brandy closer than ever to the top spot on the Hot 100, coming in at number 2, and both tracks securing her 2 more Grammy nominations. It was official. Brandy was a teen pop star, and before she knew it, she'd also become a teen TV star too. In January 1996, UPN debuted a new sitcom called Moesha, with Brandy playing the lead role of Moesha Mitchell, a bright, savvy, middle-class black teenager who navigates the passage of 90s adolescence with the help of her close-knit group of friends and family.
Hello? Excuse me, Huxtables. Why didn't somebody wake me up?
It was an immediate hit and soon became the network's most watched show. Behind the scenes, though, things had gotten pretty tense between 2 of the show's stars, Brandy and Countess Vaughn, who played Moesha's best friend, Kim. Brandy laid out what she believed the issue was in an April 1998 interview with Vibe magazine. "I think she's very funny, very talented. I just feel like she wants to be in the position I'm in. People tell her, you're the reason why the show's successful. And she's told me that before. And she's called me a bitch to my face. She said, I'm the reason why the show is successful, bitch, in front of a lot of people. And I looked at her like, wow. I couldn't say nothing about her because I wasn't about to. She knows. She wakes up and looks at herself in the mirror and gets disgusted. I don't." While Brandy was ruling the TV world, she entered into a relationship she's described as her first love with Boyz II Men member Wanya Morris. What many didn't realize at the time was that Brandy was underage. Allegedly. Wanya, who's 5 years older than Brandy, has come out and vehemently denied that was the case. He says they met through her mother, who introduced them because Brandy was a fan, and they became close friends. He claims that it wasn't until she became of age that they began dating. After nearly 2 years together, though, Brandy would get a personal taste of the lyrics of her song, Broken Hearted, off her debut album, interestingly enough featuring Wanya, when he ended the relationship. He fell in love with someone else. The worst feeling is to be in love all by yourself. That feels f***ed up, honestly. It just really does. And that's the only way I can really put it. It felt like somebody had just completely taken my heart out of my body and just crushed it. Years later, that someone else would be revealed to be R&B singer Adina Howard. While things in Brandy's career seemed to be going well and getting better by the minute, she was secretly struggling to live up to the perfect image she'd created. Ever the perfectionist, she thought she would look even better by getting rid of a few pounds, hence setting off the development of an eating disorder. She told VH1's Behind the Music, "I wanted to be so thin. That was my main thing. So I started not taking care of myself, not eating properly, not eating at all, diet pills, regurgitating, and all of these things that girls do." As if that wasn't enough, she'd entered into an abusive relationship during this time as well. He started lashing out verbally and then escalated to physical abuse. That experience, coupled with the excessive dieting and the grinding schedule of her show, all came to a head one day on the set of Moesha. She walked off the set, drove home, and then found herself hospitalized for 3 days. Doctors said she'd had a nervous breakdown. Brandy knew she needed to get it together, so she stopped starving herself, started eating healthy, and found the courage to kick her boyfriend to the curb. After conquering the small screen, Brandy moved on to the big screen in 1997, where she made her debut in the supporting role of Carla Wilson in the slasher film I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Also that year, her dream of working side by side with her idol Whitney Houston came true when she was handpicked by Whitney to play the title character in Rodgers and Hammerstein's television version of Cinderella. Whitney herself not only produced the project, but starred in it as well, as Brandy's godmother. The 2-hour Disney special garnered an estimated 60 million viewers, giving the network its highest ratings in the time period in over a decade, and won an Emmy Award. Never Say Never, Brandy's second album, was released in 1998 and became her biggest selling album, reaching number 2 on the albums chart. She co-wrote and produced multiple songs for the record, including her first number 1 on the Hot 100, called The Boy Is Mine, a duet with Monica. It spent a record-breaking 13 weeks at the top of the chart, was the best-selling single of 1998, and garnered the pair a Grammy Award for Best R&B Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocal.
It's not hard to see the boy is mine.
While their song was shining brightly, the same could not be said about the relationship between the teens. Rumors abounded that Brandy and Monica had major beef with one another that even resulted in them coming to blows backstage at an award show just minutes before performing together. After Brandy collected her first number 1 pop hit, she collected another one from Never Say Never with the third single, Have You Ever? The next year, Brandy appeared in another TV role with another superstar singing diva when she co-starred with Diana Ross in Double Platinum, a musical drama made for TV movie about a strained relationship between a mother and daughter. More business opportunities to grow her brand also continued to come Brandy's way, and she went for them. In the late 90s into the early 2000s, she was represented by famed modeling agency Wilhelmina Models and worked with brands CoverGirl, Candies, and Mattel, who issued the Brandy doll in 1999.
I'm throwing my mascara out of the door. I ain't gonna smile no more. Got the music, is our time.
Brandy's so cool.
In the spotlight, watch us shine, girl.
Now Brandy's a doll.
After 6 seasons, Moesha suddenly got canceled. To this day, fans still feel some kind of way over the final episode of that last season, ending with a cliffhanger that would never be resolved.
Look, I need y'all help right now. I'm in really big trouble.
Dorian, what have you done now?
Miles has been kidnapped.
Now it was back to music. Full Moon, Brandy's third album, dropped in 2002. Just like its predecessor, it grabbed the number 2 spot on the Billboard 200 albums chart, but this project would be her first to hit number 1 on the R&B hip-hop albums chart. The lead single, What About Us, became a top 10 R&B and pop hit, while the album's title track made it into the top 20 on both charts. In addition to Wanya, Brandy has also been linked to the likes of LA Laker Kobe Bryant and rapper Mace. At this time, however, her love life would take the most serious turn. During the production of Full Moon, she became romantically involved with one of the producers on the project, named Robert Smith, also known as Big Bird. The couple kept their relationship secret until February 2002, when she announced that she was expecting her first child. The following month, she appeared on The Oprah Winfrey Show to talk not only about him and their bundle of joy on the way, but also about their secret wedding. The couple also showcased their love on reality TV with the MTV series Diary Presents Brandy Special Delivery, documenting the final months of her pregnancy and the birth of their daughter. 1 year later, though, they separated. But that wasn't going to be the last time we heard from Robert. Brandy's 4th album, Aphrodisiac, was released in 2004. It didn't do well at all, and outside of the lead single that did manage to just barely make it into the top 40, its subsequent singles failed to make any noise on any popular music charts. Thankfully, Brandy had a special someone in her life to help her deal with the disappointment. She'd begun a relationship with Q. No, not that one. Another Quentin, NBA guard Quentin Richardson, who was then playing for the Los Angeles Clippers. Since she'd just put out a new project, Brandy was making the rounds on the talk show circuit to promote it. Naturally, she was asked questions about her new love, and even some about her old one. Apparently, Robert wasn't too happy to hear Brandy downgrade their relationship while gushing about how great her current one was. So he decided that this was the perfect time to spill the tea. He dropped the bomb that him and Brandy were never married. It was all a ruse conjured up by her mother to protect her daughter's public image. After all, Brandy was always seen as a sweet, pure, and scandal-free teen star. It seems that her camp thought it was best to create the fake marriage story to cover up the fact that she was having a child out of wedlock. Robert let it rip that Brandy was a jump-off, and he was even involved with another woman at the same time, juggling them both. Brandy issued a statement through her publicist claiming that she was hurt and shocked by Robert's words. She also added that instead of a legally recognized marriage, they had a spiritual union and true commitment to each other. Brandy and Quentin, though, didn't let anything Robert had to say have a negative impact on their relationship. And to prove it, he proposed just days after Robert's revelation with an 11.5-carat diamond ring valued at $1 million. Brandy even spoke of how well things were going between them, and if she were to get engaged again, she would not keep it a secret in an interview with MTV the month before. I promise you, I'm gonna call my next marriage my first marriage, because it'll be the first time that I'll ever get a chance to walk down the aisle and have bridesmaids, and my mom crying and my dad giving me away, and just really being in love with somebody. I promise you, it will not be a secret because it'll be real. Sadly, they would never make it down the aisle and end their engagement the next year. Then, Brandy had to endure the lengthy process of getting the tattoo she'd gotten of his face on her back transformed into butterflies. On December 30th, 2006, while driving on the 405 freeway in Los Angeles, Brandy struck another vehicle driven by a 38-year-old mother of 2 children. The woman later died from her injuries at a local hospital. Law enforcement officials reported that Brandy was driving her Land Rover at 65 miles per hour and didn't notice that vehicles ahead of her had slowed considerably. Her vehicle then collided with the rear of the woman's Toyota, causing it to strike another vehicle before sliding sideways and impacting the center divider. As it came to a stop, it was hit by yet another vehicle. There was no evidence of drugs or alcohol, and Brandy wasn't arrested or charged with anything. Nevertheless, multiple lawsuits were filed by multiple people against her, all of which were ultimately settled out of court. Brandy's fifth album, Human, was released in 2008. After her departure from Atlantic, it marked her debut on Epic Records. It produced lackluster sales, giving the label all the motivation they needed to end her contract with them. Did y'all know Brandy could rap? Well, she does, and decided to officially introduce her rapping alter ego, Brand New, with 2 credits on Timbaland's 2009 album, Timbaland Presents Shock Value 2. Brandy and her brother took reality TV head-on in 2010 when they debuted their show on VH1 titled Brandy and Ray J, A Family Business. It lasted for 2 seasons, chronicling the backstage lives of both siblings while they took on larger roles in their family's management and production company. For the rest of the 2010s, Brandy continued to split her time between both her singing and acting careers. On the music front, she teamed up with Monica for the second time in early 2012 on the track It All Belongs to Me, which was released as a single from the latter's album New Life. At the end of that year, Brandy confirmed her engagement to music executive Ryan Press. At the time, she appeared to be very much in love and credited him with restoring her faith in men. I had given up on love a long time ago. It just didn't seem to work for me, so I was single for a very long time. I stopped looking for love, and then I ran into my boyfriend. He just loves me for who I am. I don't have to camouflage anything for him or put on a mask. I can completely be myself, and he loves me so much, and I love him just the way he is too. Can you guess what happened next? Yup, things with Ryan went the way they did with her last engagement. The couple ended things in April 2014, but reports claim that they continue to be friends. Brandy's first solo single in 4 years, called Put It Down, featuring Chris Brown, dropped in May 2012. The song off her 6th album, 211, with Chameleon Entertainment Group, reached number 3 on the R&B chart, becoming her first top 10 entry in 10 years. After several years had passed without any new music from her, Brandy ended up suing Chameleon Entertainment Group after the label reportedly refused to allow her to record and release new albums. After the original lawsuit was thrown out of court due to one particular clause, Brandy filed another one several months later, demanding $270,000 in compensation and a court declaration that she is contractually freed from Chameleon. Both parties eventually reached a settlement. As far as acting goes, her presence on the small screen was highlighted by roles on the series The Game, Zoe Ever After, Star, and Queens. She also made her Broadway debut in the musical Chicago, in which she played the lead role of Roxy Hart. Love was in the air for Brandy again in 2017 when it was reported that she was in a new relationship with songwriter and producer Sir the Baptist. But just a mere 2 months later, they were over, and for one of the worst reasons ever. She caught him cheating on her with 3 women, including his baby mama. B7, Brandy's 7th album, and her first in 8 years, was released in 2020. On it, she opens up about love, personal heartbreak, and even her battle with depression. She told the Griot, "I've dealt with depression in the most severe, like severe depression. I've dealt with trauma, I've dealt with PTSD, I've gone through a lot, and I had to overcome a lot. But I had to overcome everything that I've overcame by doing the work." To overcome, Brandy says she turned to therapy, prayer, journaling, and meditation. The month after her latest album dropped, Brandy and Monica went head-to-head in a versus battle. Their session shattered records, breaking 1.2 million concurrent views on the 3-hour Instagram live stream and bringing in 6 million views in total across all platforms. One person who made it clear who they were rooting for was Brandy's former co-star from Thea Vidal. On her now deleted Twitter account, she said with her whole chest that she would be cheering for Monica. After being questioned as to why her former sitcom daughter didn't have her support, Thea shared her not-so-great experience with Brandy when they worked together. "I'm tired of people coming at me sideways about Brandy. I never said she wasn't talented. I do and will always fundamentally disagree with her and her mama's disrespect while we work together on my sitcom. And I stand by that. Brandy responded, claiming she was not treated well. I would just have to say that Thea didn't really treat me the way I deserved to be treated. I was a child. I respected her and I loved being on her show. I felt like that was the stepping stone to get to my music career. And I felt maybe, she's just a little bit bitter because I haven't seen her do a lot since then. So maybe it was a way to get attention. And I just honestly believe that. She needs a little love right now. Today, it seems Brandy's got just as much going on as she did when she first started her career. She's back with a major label, Motown, and expects to release her 8th studio album with them. In April 2023, Brandy's daughter, Sarai, confirmed that her mother would be the vocal and executive producer on her forthcoming debut EP. Brandy's also starring as Cinderella once again in the Descendants spin-off film, The Descendants: The Rise of Red, as well as in a Netflix original called Best Christmas Ever, slated to come out in November 2023.